In 1963, Sarawak, together with Sabah, Singapore and Malaya, entered into an agreement as equal among 4 partners to form Malaysia, and this agreement was referred to as MA63. Under MA63, the Sarawak government will retain its autonomy and independence to govern and protect our land and sea territories, and our rich resources, among others, the rights and privileges of our people inherited before 1963. For over 50 years, our elected BN, now rebranded GPS in government, promised to fairly govern and protect the people of Sarawak for a better and prosperous future. Sadly, whether by intention or otherwise, promises were broken and safeguards enshrined in MA63 were removed illegally by Sarawak BN, now GPS in government, surrendered to and taken away by the federal government during its 50-year reign. Sarawak remains a poorer state in Malaysia. With the PRN 12th general election coming, for the people of Sarawak to elect a new government, it is now time to review and look closely at how BN, now GPS in government, has failed the people of Sarawak over time. With the election of DUN members coming soon, it is time for all of us Sarawakians to review and look at what had the GPS achieved, or and how did they perform as the government in the past 50 years, before we decide whether GPS should continue to govern Sarawak, or is it the time for a change, and let PSB be the change and be our next government to correct the wrongs for a better future of hope and dreams. 1. Sarawak loses its rights over the vast oil and gas resources since 1973 to Petronas, owned by the federal government. 2. Sarawak loses 75% of sea territories, amount to 16.5 kilometers, to the federal government in 2012. 3. Sarawak was not given fair share of MP number from 1963 until today in year 2020. There are total 222 seats available in Parliament. Peninsular Malaysia has increased to 166 seats, 75%, but Sarawak only 31 seats, 14%. Sadly, unfair and inequitable ADUN seats distribution is also serious in Sarawak. Sadong Jaya had only 6,749 registered voters, the lowest, while Palawan had 32,233 registered voters, the highest. At the Sarawak state level, racial polarization in the public sector is also obvious and alarming. 4. Because of the weakness of GPS ex-BN government, racial and religious politics continue to grow, ranging from composition of MPs, DUN members, cabinet members and government servants, affecting the unity and harmony of the people and progress of our nation. 5. Sarawak is among the poorest states in Malaysia, even though we have the richest natural resources, vast land and sea territories, and an easy small population to manage. 6. While a vast tract of land has been alienated for commercial agriculture activities, the native or rural customary lands are left underdeveloped, leaving the majority of rural population far behind in economic well-being, in education, in healthcare, in housing, in basic infrastructure accessibility and amenities, and internet connectivity, among others. 7. While the rural populations are still behind, a large number of peoples living in the urban areas are living in poverty, where the people are struggling daily to pay their houses and cars installment payments, rentals, decent food for their families, utility and medical bills, and education expenses, just to name a few, not mentioning saving for the future of their families. 8. Many Sarawakians are forced to leave their families and work outstation, including in places like Kuala Lumpur, Johor, Middle East, Singapore, and even Papua New Guinea. 9. The education quality and standard in Malaysia is getting from bad to worse. In 2018, the Programme for International Student Assessment (PISA) reported that Malaysian students' ranking dropped to 59th position out of 65 countries, behind Vietnam, which ranked 17th. 10. Senior citizens and the disabled are without decent government recognition and needs help and special care. 11. With so much emphasis by the federal government, politics from West Malaysia preaching heavily on Malaysianization, diluting the ethnic culture and traditions of Sarawakians, our identities are threatened by decreasing recognition in our own homeland. Legacy, language and cultural practices are forcibly rendered obsolete and slowly disappearing. 12. In spite of large sea territories and a long coastal line and numerous rivers, our fishing and other marine activities are poor in performance and our fishermen are struggling with their income. 13. Sarawak took 57 years to accumulate 32 billion ringgit of State Reserve Fund. Since becoming Chief Minister in 2017, Abang Johari has been vigorously committing to numerous huge projects of over 45 billion ringgit, including leaping into 5G digital economy, hydrogen buses and commercial hydrogen production, building a 10.8 billion ringgit LRT between Kota Samarahan and Kuching, spending over 5 billion ringgit to build second trunk road across no man's land when we are currently still building the Pan-Borneo Highway and Coastal Highway. Yet, our dilapidated schools, our large number of people living in poverty, lack of basic necessities, even no internet connections continue to suffer without solution in sight. Many SMEs are also helpless in facing bankruptcy due to COVID-19 pandemic. It's time to change. It's time to change the GPS government who has been given more than 50 years but failed not only to protect but instead surrendered rights of Sarawak under MA 63, and with poor performances and broken promises, Sarawak is still a poor state after 58 years in Malaysia. Apart from losing our rights on oil and gas and sea territories, among other things, the GPS government even recently amended our Sarawak constitution to allow more non-Sarawakians to automatically be entitled to become Sarawakians. How are we to face our children? After 58 years of trust given to BN in broken promises, we cannot face our children and look straight into their eyes and tell them that we can continue to trust BN, now renamed GPS, to deliver their broken promises but only in another 58 years. The time to change the GPS government is now. Let PSB be the change to improve our lives and bring hope to the future of our children.